Meet Reed Lance Rosenthal, rancher, #1 best-selling award-winning author, and unabashedly, unapologetically on the right side of the outstanding issues of our generation. But don't try to fence him in. Sometimes his positions will surprise you, because Reed is definitely his own man, with his own opinions. You might love him, you might hate him, but you won't be able to stop listening. Step over to the right side with Reed.
Howdy, listeners and viewers. Coast to coast, the Gulf to Canada, and across the globe. Reed Lance Rosenthal on the Right Side Radio. And for you viewers, for you video folks, Reed Lance Rosenthal, the Cowboys Take, all sorts of channels on the rightsideradio.com. We'll give you your links. Enjoy. And please leave a comment and please subscribe. Okay? Please. And by the way, you folks on the radio, you send me an email, you contact me any way you want. Tell me what you think of these facts I'm bringing to you that are, shall we say, gushing forth, springing forth, that are head shakers. They're all head shakers on this Trump attempt. So today we're going to go over an update. I mean, really mind-blowing facts, videos, undeniable. I mean, you can see with your own eyes on the shell casings, the ladder, Crook's body, the ejection from the AR, videos which show flashes coming, apparently rifle flashes, from inside the building, ground floor, on which Crook's was supposedly situated. And different shell casing counts at different times. No marking of their whereabouts. We'll get into the details here in just a bit. And then we're going to have some rat-a-tat-tat, both economic and political. And I want to remind all of you, before I get into the rant story and the founder's quote, the election was held in Venezuela several days ago. The challenger, Democrat, a true Democrat and free market guy, was supposedly beaten by Maduro, the corrupt, very corrupt and cruel socialist, just like he kind of stole the election in 2018. Well, apparently he stole this one too. Exit polls show, it's unbelievable, 2-1 votes for the challenger, but Maduro and his election council, who he handpicked, by the way, say that, no, it was 51 Maduro and 44 for the challenger, and oh, sorry, we don't have the printout sheets from the machines. You know, if you had hand ballots, if you had paper ballots, you wouldn't have to worry about that, would you? But you take a look at what happened there in Venezuela, which is what happened in Venezuela in the last election. You think about 2020 and 2022 here. You think about CrowdStrike, right? You know, let's assume all these systems go down the day of the election or the day before. May I strongly suggest to all the conservatives that are listening to me that you get out and vote early. Go down there, vote early. It's not crowded. I've done it for years. Or do a mail-in and bring it in person. Or if at the very worst, do a mail-in and mail it. But you do not want to wait for election day. Okay, there's going to be hijinks and games on election day. And you don't want to be sitting out in the rain, or in the case of Arizona, the hot sun, like 2022, when suddenly, after being certified and checked and everything was fine, like 2 days before, the machines in 17 precincts simultaneously went down in Maricopa County and happened to be in Republican districts. Too bad, so sad. Avoid that. Okay, we can beat the left at their own game. Vote early. Vote early. Do not wait for election day. Too many things can go wrong, particularly since they know election day is a strong day for Republicans. You know, it's kind of like a bunched target, if you will. Very easy to manipulate and screw with. Vote early. All right, let's talk about our founder's quote today, shall we? And this is going to be Thomas Paine. I love Thomas Paine. Remember, he wrote the booklet Common Sense, the pamphlet. Sold 50,000 copies, I think, in 2 weeks, which is kind of like selling 5 million books in a week now. And he was really the guy who stirred the pot and got the revolution bubbling. Okay? Great guy. Quote, when men yield up the privilege of thinking, the last shadow of liberty quits the horizon, unquote. And what I'm asking you to do, my audience, whether you're watching me flap my lips or whether you're listening to me on AM, I want you to think, okay? God gave you a brain. He gave you common sense. He gave you a feel for universal energies. You know what's right, what's wrong, what's not right, what's out of place and out of sync. Think as I'm bringing you these updates on the attempt on Trump and the other ancillary business we're going to be covering today. Now, the ranch story today. Well, it's kind of fun. So you can imagine, first of all, a good rancher never throws anything. I'm talking about anything away. And 9 times out of 10, that piece of junk, wood, metal, rope, doesn't matter. You're going to find a use for it at some point in the future, totally unknown at the time you decided, I'm not going to throw this away, I'm going to throw it over here in the corner. But after a while, the stuff builds up. It's kind of like your house, right? I mean, most of you know what I'm talking about. You look around the house and go, where did I get all this stuff? Well, we've been working on it for 2 years. That'll give you an idea. We have a project going, trying to clean up the barn and the barn compound and the other outbuildings, get them more organized, kind of get stuff off the floor, get it out of the corners, get it out of the piles. And literally, this has been going on for 2 years. That'll give you an idea how much stuff there is. And so we are going to have what's called a barn sale. And we're going to take all the stuff, quote unquote, downtown to the little town we live near and set it out on Main Street. We've got a parking lot rented. What is it, a week after next? So I think it's the 8th and 9th or 9th and 10th, whatever that Saturday and Sunday is. So you folks who live near us, you know who you are. Come on down. We're going to have tack. We're going to have tools. We're going to have power tools. We're going to have trailers. You name it. It's going to be a pretty impressive sale. ATVs. But I digress. So in the course of getting ready for the barn sale and trying to get this barn and outbuildings organized, so it's kind of looks like a semblance of somebody who knows what they're doing, and you can find something, and it's in the same place with the other stuff that's like it, we have come across all sorts of treasures. We came across antique tools. I mean, they must be at least 100, maybe 120 years old, planers and the old screw thing that, operated like this on kind of a swivel. I mean, some really neat stuff. So the moral of the story is, number one, keep plugging away when you have a monstrous project. And eventually, if you keep plugging, even if it takes years, you'll get it done. The second moral of the story is, every once in a while, it's good to go through all the junk, and I use the term junk advisedly, that you've accumulated. You never know what treasures are hiding out there in the piles. And they could be valuable treasures, or, in things that might be coming our way, really important treasures that might help you get over hurdles that today you can't foresee. So that's the moral of the story. Now, let's get into, this will be our third or fourth, I believe our fourth update on the attempt on Trump. And what we're focusing on right now is the plot and the cover-up, which is a section on the Trump attempt page on the rightsideradio.com, upper right, click on it, over 80 sources, probably 150 different videos and articles now, covering all sorts of things, and a brand new audio forensic, which is more sophisticated than the ones that were prior that were posted, which really brings, I don't want to say things into focus, but how about questions, ever increasing questions, into focus. So let's get into the Trump deal, shall we? So, let me tell you that the stuff I'm about to bring you is brand new stuff just over the last 3 days. And I'm giving you both points of view. I mean, nobody really knows what happened out there. I have my opinion. based on the facts and the evidence that's now available. And trust me, folks, for my benefit, because I want to know, for the country's benefit, because it needs to know, and for your benefit, because you're my audience and you deserve to know, at least what we know now, so that you can make a decision on what you think occurred out there. The stuff I'm bringing you now is just over the last 2 or 3 days, which was interrupted, by the way, by a forest fire on a part of the ranch. But that will be next week's ranch story. It'll be a good one, I guarantee you. Some of you have been getting the video updates on Rumble, Brighteon, Gab, all the channels that we're on. You will have heard part of this, kind of the tail end of what I'm about to bring up, but the rest of this stuff is brand new. And you radio listeners, you're hearing it all for the first time, since there's some time frames and time lags between posting and not posting, etc., video and radio. So let's get started. Number one, over the last week or so, there's been hearings with Director Wray. I brought you those. They're all posted on the website, on the rightsideradio.com. Upper right-hand corner on the homepage, tap the Trump attempt page. It really is the best compendium of information and videos, etc., on the web. There's no doubt in my mind. It'll really give you all the viewpoints and all the conflicting evidence and the games our government is playing. How unusual. Look, what we learned from the Wray interview, what we learned from the interview of Rowe, R-O-W-E, and Abbott from the FBI, the Assistant Director of the FBI, Rowe being the now Acting Director of Secret Service, who, by the way, was in charge of protective services. You know, exactly the kind of thing that happened at the Trump event prior to him being appointed by Mayorkas to fill Kim Cheadle's rather vacuous shoes. And listen, he did a pretty good job, kind of. He evaded a lot of stuff. There's no doubt he's trying to protect people. He's trying to protect friends. He's trying to protect allies. And nowhere did the senators or the congressmen ask these people the million-dollar question. What was Mayorkas's role, the head of DHS, of which the Secret Service is a part? What was his role in all these things? Denying assets, denying aerial assets, denying human assets, supplanting Secret Service personnel with HIS, i.e. DHS, Department of Homeland Security personnel, not trained at all in protective services, as you can tell by the videos. And I find all this obfuscation and the pointing back and forth. Oh, well, the FBI is investigating that. Oh, well, the Secret Service is investigating that. You'll hear it through the videos. They're all posted for you. And I really, you learn a lot with body language. You learn a lot with how they're holding their hands and clenching them or twisting them or playing with their fingers. They're worth watching. And they're all under the plot and the cover-up portion of that page, the attempt on Trump page. Anyway, what we learned from Rowe and Abbott from the FBI, and there's a really interesting sidelight here that Senator Kennedy, I love him, Senator Kennedy brought up from Louisiana. And that is that supposedly, there's no communications. Now remember, Cheadle said there was communications within the Secret Service, but that they didn't keep them. Well, that's kind of convenient. All the other communications, local, state police, they've been recorded. They've already been furnished to the committee. No communication has been furnished by the Secret Service or any other agency that may have been out there. I mean, I brought you the rumors of the car, Department of Agriculture, the ATF people. None of that is really coming up right now. It's kind of been shoved into the dark corner of things, if you know what I'm saying. And I've brought you all the videos, okay? To be fair, there is now a video out. I put it on the page so you can listen to it. from Natural News, the health ranger, and he originally thought there was more than one shooter. He now thinks there's one shooter. I don't agree with his logic. Knowing rifles, I don't agree with his conclusions, but I put it up there so that you can listen to why he has gone from multiple shooters to single shooters. You should listen to that video and, once again, form your own opinion. Additionally, I have other videos up. There are new videos out of those flashes, which are now being attributed to reflections in a window, in the first floor of the building on which Mr. Crooks was perched, Lee Harvey Oswald, in this modern day Kennedy reenactment. Social media. So a bot from the FBI, while he's being grilled, trying to take credit as if they discovered it. Remember, the FBI told us that there was no social media print from this kid, blah, 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 blah. Well, it seems that there is a social media print. The president of Gab discovered it, tried to bring it to their attention. They ignored him. He went public with it, and now they have to admit it. And of course, the posts are ultra left, anti anything to the right of 10 degrees left of left. And it becomes pretty apparent as to the motive. So now you see politics coming into play. All this is, once again, posted. You can read it yourself. You can see it yourself. You can listen to it yourself. Your eyes don't lie. Your ears don't lie. Okay? And then we learned, I'm just going to sidelight just for a moment because I'm going to delve into this. This so angers me that the Department of Justice just settled a lawsuit by Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, the two lovers. Remember the people that were running Crossfire Hurricane against Trump, even though they knew it was totally bogus, spending tens upon tens of millions of dollars of U.S. taxpayer money, and then on top of that, dividing the country. You know, with the media, the corrupt and collusive media, all the way behind them. And then they were let go, but they were still getting like salary or pension or something. I don't know what the deal was, to be honest with you. I don't remember. I'll have to go back in my notes. Well, they sued the FBI. And the Department of Justice and the FBI, Abbott says he doesn't know anything about it. He would never have approved it, blah, 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 blah. It seems that the Department of Justice settled that lawsuit for a $1.2 million payment to Peter Strzok and an $800,000 payment to Lisa Page, using our tax money once again. Now, why do you think that was settled? How about because Peter Strzok and Lisa Page said, listen, you folks told us to do this. You gave us the blueprint, and we're going to blow the whistle. We're going to blow this wide open unless we get paid. Do I know that? No. Do I flat guarantee that? Yes. So the cover-up continues regarding Trump, motivation, et cetera, and anything to do with Crossfire Hurricane, the impeachments, et cetera. But the fact that our tax money is being used in a bribery, which is really what it is, to keep quiet so that once again the American people are misled and critical information regarding their republic and their employees, which all these people are, is being withheld. It's being buried, which brings us back to the attempt on Trump, because the same thing seems to be happening there. And though Roe is more believable than Cheadle, he's obviously bending over backwards to protect his friends and protect his boss. And shame on Congress and Senate for not bringing Mayorkas into this picture, because all things funnel back to him. He's the guy in charge. Cheadle was in charge of the Secret Service. He's in charge of Cheadle. It's just that simple. That's the way it works. That's the hierarchical structure. Look at a organization chart of the Department of Homeland Security and the Secret Service. It's very easy. Also, Roe was really, he went over backwards to not divulge the name of whoever signed off on the operations plan, whoever decided on the perimeter, who decided on the assets. Very curious, very curious. And Abbott was, of course, trying to play, rah rah America, and the FBI is not in on it, but the FBI is right on top of this, and not believable. None of it is believable. Watch it for yourself. Then, and by the way, it's Ronald Rowe and Paul Abed. So, then we have, then we have the two shots at different angles video. This is a whole new video which lines up the victims in the crowd and Trump and seems to suggest an entirely different direction than the water tower, the one-story building, the two-story building, the shooter's position, the gym roof, you name it. Once again, it's on there. You can take a look at it. I find it confusing and I don't quite get it, but that's okay. The one thing in there is that you remember that picture of the Secret Service counter sniper, none of whom, they were on the north roof. They could not see the building, the book depository building, because there was a tree in the way. Now, who placed them there? Well, it's truly amazing. But he ducks. Everybody thought he shot. I knew he didn't. I told you right up front, he never shot. That team never shot. I mean, it was easy for me to see when I slowed it down. However, when he jerks and he ducks, okay, the theory is that these bullets or bullet that came from a different angle entirely narrowly missed him and then headed down in the crowd. The problem with this is I don't see any position elevated high enough to go past him and then down into the crowd 10 to 12 feet below him. So anyway, I'm just bringing it to your attention. Take a look at it. Make your own decisions. My job is to bring you the evidence. Your job is to review it and come to a conclusion. Then we have people trying to explain the potential muzzle flashes in the window or from the window below where the shooter, quote unquote, the shooter, Lee Harvey Oswald, the patsy, was positioned as reflections. Well, the windows are facing south. It is about 6:11 p.m. in the evening, and the sun is no longer high enough to reflect in the windows. You know, this is just kind of a natural fact. Anyway, there's a lot of different stuff going around. One really interesting comment that Rowe made was that the Secret Service, I almost quote it now, does not collect information and intelligence. They get intel from the intelligence agencies. Who do we now know was involved in some way, shape, or form? I don't know if we'll ever really know exactly. In the Kennedy assassination, the CIA. Who's been involved in assassinations around the globe? Gaddafi in Libya. I mean, I can go on. I don't need to. The CIA. And we know that the CIA has no great love of Trump or the populist nationalist movement. They're globalists, they're war hawks, and we know that they are not above, shall we say, eliminating somebody they don't like. I'll leave it at that. So they got the intelligence. So maybe the intelligence was faulty. Maybe the intelligence had glaring omissions. I mean, it's very perplexing, very perplexing. But let me bring you a host of other facts here. You can check all this stuff I'm talking to you about on the website. Do your own research. Google, by the way, this is another really good indicator of what's going on here. Google is now changing their algorithms so that it's more and more difficult to find anything but the official narrative. One shooter, 8 shots, lone gunman, no accomplices, no conspiracy, etc. Google, if there's anything different out there, have fun finding it on Google. Google's not your friend, folks. I've told you that. YouTube is not your friend. I mean, you may like YouTube and it may have a great selection of things to watch, but may I suggest Rumble? Brighteon, Gab, any of the others, okay? You'll get a much fairer shot. I know that they're suppressing the algorithms of our new video channels, and I take that kind of as a badge of honor. One other thing that I think I should call to your attention, you should watch Roe's testimony for yourself. There's lots of nuggets in there. But one other thing I should bring to your attention is that Roe was in some way, shape, or form directly involved in the denial of assets requested by the Trump security team for a apparently pretty long period of time, like back to, according to him, 2021. He didn't quite admit it. He just admitted he was part of the committee, so nobody has culpability, no single person, that decided this in the war room, as he called it. Take a look. I mean, Roe is better than Cheadle, but, that's kind of a low bar of praise, obviously. All right, let's talk about rat-a-tat-tat, shall we? I want to bring you mostly economic rat-a-tat-tat, because I think that there's lots of other stuff I can bring you. I'm just going to get off the economics there here in the very beginning. But the economics is what will do you the most good in terms of the decisions you make, the planning you take, and the protections that you engage in with, unfortunately, what I think is coming at us. And listen, I'm not an economist, but there's a lot of great economists who agree with me. All right, so let's start off with something else. France. So France is being besieged by terror and sabotage, communications, power. Paris had a huge blackout, transportation, trains. Okay, is this kind of a foreshadow of the United States with what Mayorkas and Obama and that whole crew, Kamala Harris, has allowed to happen on the southern border? Yes, folks, it is. So, I have a bunch of new articles posted on the preparedness page. COVID, whole new bunch of studies out. They are now estimating 17 million people died from the jab. They have all the science there. They have all the math, if you will, all the equations. I don't know if it's true, but it's on the COVID page. Once again, on the rightsideradio.com. Check it out. More information for you. More information coming out every day, I might add. So the other thing that the Olympic Committee did in the course of this uproar in Paris and around France, they had this grotesque opening ceremony. Basically, transvestites and whatever, reenacting, quote unquote, the Last Supper. I mean, it was really disgusting. The fact that it was put on in front of children is doubly disgusting. Then they compound it by this, apology that's not an apology. One of those apologies that says, I'm really sorry if we offended anyone. They didn't apologize for doing it. They apologized if it offended anyone. And then we find out they have other things going on in addition to the ongoing events that have to do with LBGTQ, AA, 333, whatever it is, transgender ideology throughout the whole games. And no apologies for those. And then we find out that they had a vegan diet for the athletes, and the athletes have rebelled. So they now have to ship in a bunch of meat and eggs. I mean, wow. You talk about woke. You can read these articles under woke on the main page on the rightsideradio.com. They're head shakers. They really are. Let's talk about economy very quick. Okay, the FHA Housing Price Index this month, that is in July for June, increased 0. This is the first time in several years that there's been no increase in the house price. Never mind adjusted for inflation. We're just talking straight percentage increase, 0. The Case-Shiller Home Price Index, which is really the most well-known, most reputable, shows a decline, this is in non-FHA houses, of 0.3%, a decline. First time, I think, in about 49 months that there's been a decline in house prices. Everything I've been warning you about, and other people, and I have several videos under the preparedness page and under family safety on the, listen to them. These are experts, okay? The mortgage apps in June, reported in July, all the stuff just came out like a day ago, dropped 3.9%. And that was from June, which dropped 2.2%. In other words, no mortgage apps, less buyers. That's why prices are starting to fall, and they are starting to fall about everywhere. And there's the JOLTS index. The JOLTS index is the job opportunity index. Make it very simple. If there are jobs posted, then the government assumes, we'll get into this in just a minute, the government assumes that there's job openings. And so they follow that index. Well, the JOLTS index was at 7.09 million, which is slightly up, kind of, from the month before. But when you get into the JOLTS index, you notice that they are including part-time jobs, which are the huge preponderance of the JOLTS that they're using. They're including ads by government agencies. In other words, how easy is it to advertise $50,000 or $60,000 government jobs and then poof, they're gone. Sorry, we filled them, or sorry, they don't exist anymore in the next month. This apparently is what has been going on. And that kind of ties in with what they're doing on the employment indexes, which I've told you about. And that is they're using government jobs, using your tax money to push up falsely the economic numbers, to lull you into a false sense of security, and to lull folks who are not as informed as you are and not as mentally engaged as you are into thinking everything is A-OK, pull the lever for the Dems. I mean, it's really simple as that. And using your tax money to do it, as they are really good at. So the government job postings were 56,000 up, month over month, okay? The state and local government job postings, mostly the huge majority in blue states. Maybe a coincidence, maybe not. 118,000, they were up month over month. And that's why the JOLTS, you take those two numbers, and that accounts for about 160% of this minuscule increase in JOLTS. All right, great. Did you know that in addition to all the stores that have been closing, companies basically going bankrupt, or stores that are being closed, hundreds of them by various companies, Big Lots, Family Dollar, CVS locations, Foot Locker, Conn's Inc., C-O-N-N-S Inc., one of the largest furniture stores in the United States, almost 100 years old. They have filed bankruptcy. Okay, they are closing 539 stores, 3,800 jobs, give or take, lost. This is not these are a lot of red flags running up the flagpole, folks. These are a lot of canaries tipping over in the coal mine. You would be foolish to not pay attention to what's going on out there and, as they say, govern yourselves accordingly. And I promised to get into this Enbridge deal, the Enbridge project. I don't have enough time in this video/radio show to do it, but it's breathtaking. It's being put on by the BRICS. It is really well thought out. They have a big meeting in October. Brace yourself for impact, because I think that meeting is going to be bigger than you think. It's going to involve Project Enbridge. It's going to involve an alternate currency. Whether they bring it out at that time, I don't know, but they will announce its structure at that time. It might be part of the drum roll leading up to the unveiling, if you will. None of this is good news for the U.S. currency as a reserve currency, and none of this is good news for America or Americans, other than those Americans like the economic advisors, Bernstein, etc., to Obama, who said in 2014 and repeated it 2 months later, 2 months ago, that it's time for King Dollar to be dethroned. Okay. There's a huge uproar, by the way, in the Mideast. Israel has taken out the top Hamas guy, and they've taken out one of the top Hezbollah guys. They took him out in Iran. The other guy they took out in Beirut. So the Mideast is heating up, folks. Once again, govern yourselves accordingly. And the same thing, by the way, is going on over in Ukraine. I don't have time to get into it. I might be able to post a video under international on the main webpage. Hopefully I'll get it there. If it'll go into great detail, much more than I can cover with you, or probably that you want me to cover with you. And you can watch it at your leisure and gain from it what you will in terms of pre-warning. In other economic news, consumer debt. This excludes buy now, pay later type stuff because those outfits are not disclosing. $330 billion 2 years ago to $1.2 trillion plus today. 43% of people are behind on their buy now, pay later plans. And we don't know what 43% really is in terms of numbers because they won't reveal the numbers. Neither will the government. Savings was $2.1 trillion in 2020. It's now negative $72 billion a month. Is that zero? And now negative $72 billion a month. May inventory, this is May. We'll have housing inventory for you next week for June. May inventory housing was up 6.7% overall and 18.5% year over year. All of those of you who are listening to your realtors, oh, this is different this time. This market is different. Your house is, pay attention. Nobody's bigger than the market, folks. And the market will grind you with its heel if you are not kind of savvy and ready and nimble. Sales were down in May, and I think we'll see the same thing. In fact, we did see the same thing in June, 2.8% year over year. Remember, this is important. Vote early. Vote in your primaries. Have a say. Make sure rhinos don't get installed to run for office. Very important. And not only vote in your primaries, make sure you vote early in the national election. Do not wait for election day this year. Do not. All right. This is Reed Lance Rosenthal on the Right Side Radio and the Cowboys Take on video channels. We'll talk at you soon. Keep the wind at your back.
Please remember, if you've missed any shows, just click on Show Archive and you'll find all of his shows. We look forward to seeing you here again next week for another episode of Reed Lance Rosenthal on the Right Side.